Hey guys, welcome to another Game Explained discussion. I'm your host, Andrew Seegers, and this time we're joined by Ash Paulson to discuss a rumor that Ubisoft and Nintendo are working together on a Mario and Rabbids crossover RPG. So let's get started. Alright Ash, those are words I never thought I would have said in any capacity together. Now, we had actually heard this before, but based on the earliest rumblings of this rumor, you were completely nonplussed about this. So I'm curious as to what your take is now that some more information has started filling some of the gaps on this.
Well, I mean, yeah, I was kind of nonplussed because we had initially heard that there was some sort of like Yoshi and Rabbids crossover game in development, and I'm thinking, okay, that's kind of weird, but it's probably just going to be a dumb party game. Like, I figured, what big deal? It's going to be like, some Rabbids Invasion, whatever those games are called, So I figured, no big deal. And then we get more context in the rumor, and we find out it's going to be an RPG. Apparently a turn-based RPG at that, and that's when my alarm bells went off. I'm like, wait a minute. Nintendo and Ubisoft are collaborating on a turn-based RPG starring the Rabbids, or a crossover RPG with Mario and the Rabbids. Like, that's the weirdest thing. And like you said, did you ever think you'd be recording that intro? That is so bizarre. So, if it had been a party game, no big deal. But an RPG? That's just weird. Yeah,
I pretty much agree with you. It totally depended on what direction they took it. But I think any level of crossover with the Rabbids and Nintendo was surprising to me. However, if the route had just been like a minigame compilation, it would have been whatever, right?
Right.
Making an RPG, especially at launch of the Switch, going by this rumor, that's kind of nuts. And especially with going with the title, the current moniker, the working title is Mario RPG Invasion of the Rabbids. And granted, that may not be the final title, so who knows, this, I don't want to look into it too much. But using Mario RPG is something we haven't heard in over 20 years, since the original Mario RPG on the Super Nintendo. So that automatically is bringing a lot of expectations with it. I really want to see how this turns out, because this is, like I said when we teased it in our discussion, I feel like this is bonkers. This is kind of bonkers.
Yeah, it's even weirder that they apparently they seem to be using the Super Mario RPG moniker. The fact that they haven't even touched that name for 20 years, and they're suddenly now kind of dipping into it and bringing it back out for a Rabbids crossover of all things, something that something about that doesn't quite sit right with me, especially since Squaresoft developed the original Mario RPG. I'm not sure how I feel about this. It's a little, I don't know. It's just I don't want to read too much into it, because they might not actually end up calling it that, or they might not, be intending to use that specific name. Mm-hmm. But still, it's just weird, and this whole thing is weird, and I don't even know what am I reading? A Mario RPG Invasion of the Rabbids?
It's bonkers, right? Again, I don't want to read too much into the title, because it is just a working title. It probably has no connection at all to the original Mario RPG. It's just that when you say those words, that's what comes to mind. Now, it's funny in seeing the reaction to this now, especially after we teased it a couple days ago. Some people are totally on board with the idea, some are really confused but are curious and excited to see what it turns out to be, and others are disappointed or just can't see how this would work. And I do think some people may have been setting themselves up for a little bit of disappointment just based on them reading into our comments a couple days ago, because, at least for me, I can't speak purely for Roger, but I'm pretty sure it was coming from the same way. We were coming from a perspective of bewilderment. Not so much innate excitement, although there is a little bit of that just because it is such an out there idea. But we were really just more baffled by anything, and some people I think may have taken that as just raw excitement for something being so mind-blowingly awesome, when it was more mind-blowingly, how is this a thing?
Yeah, I was kind of worried about that too, because I got so many questions from people oh, that sounds really exciting, what did you hear, and oh my god, what are they working on, this is a big deal. And I was seeing it on GameFAQs, I was seeing it on GAF, I was seeing it everywhere, and I'm like, oh man, I think so many people mistook just total confusion and just shock for excitement.
Yeah, it's a bit of both, right? The raw idea itself is the one we're more reacting to, which is, how is this a thing? But on the other hand, based on that, there is that innate, curiosity and excitement for how is this a thing? How is this going to work? What is this actually going to end up looking like?
Yeah. Well, and I'm not quite sure what their target is here, or what their target market is, because let's say they are using, this is an RPG then. The Rabbids appeal to kids, but do RPGs really appeal as much to kids? I feel like RPGs kind of skew older.
Oh, Pokemon.
True, Pokemon, but this almost seems like it's going a bit more traditional, at least from what it sounds like. Although, yeah, I mean, that's true. If kids can get into Pokemon, obviously they can get into a Rabbids RPG. It's just strange because, I mean, are the Rabbids that beloved as a character? I mean, I could maybe see Rayman or something like that, but the Rabbids specifically, are they that popular?
I think they are. They have like a whole theme park in, I don't know, some country, I believe.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're basically like in. Or did they precede the Minions from Despicable Me? Whatever. They feel like Minions to me.
Yeah.
Like they have that level of cultural impact, right? Around
Do
there.
they?
Maybe on a smaller scale.
Yeah,
but,
I was gonna say, I don't know.
They're very similar characters. They run around, they scream,
Sure.
they're cute, and they make wild noises. But that does get into the question of like, is this a crossover that should be happening, or maybe just the merits or what they can do with this crossover? Because again, that's not something I ever expected to happen, especially in the context of an RPG. A minigame collection, yeah, I mean, I can see that, whatever.
Yeah.
But for an RPG, like that, I mean, innately that's going to have some kind of story focus. And based on what little we know, the game will apparently take place in the Mario universe, and the Rabbids are apparently going to be invading it. Some are good, some are bad, and even Bowser himself is apparently going to have a Rabbid form. What do you think about the overall idea of a, I guess, presumably a story-focused RPG with Mario and Rabbid characters?
I mean, if those minor Mario characters in your party include Mallow and Gino, I'm in. I'm totally.
Okay, that'd be nuts.
No, I know.
I mean, that would totally justify the Mario RPG moniker, right?
Can you imagine though, if like not only was it called that though, that this would be the second time that they used Mallow and Gino in a game, like if they finally brought them back.
Oh man,
that would be. I don't think that would ever happen. I also think technically Square owns the rights to those characters, possibly. But
either that or as a joint.
Yeah, joint ownership. Yeah. But I mean, I'm cool with all this. I'm just more bewildered by it. Like, I mean, it's hard because I'm not exactly all that excited about the idea of a Rabbids crossover game, like at all, because I don't care about the Rabbids. At the same time, just the fact that this is even happening is just so wild that it's interesting just for that reason alone. So I'm like in this weird in-between where I'm like, I don't really care about what this actually is if I get down to brass tacks, but at the same time, it's just so bizarre that I can't help but care,
That really is it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel the exact same way. Maybe perhaps a little bit more excited than you, just because this is again something I never expected to happen.
Right.
So I'm really curious to see just what it shapes up as being. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. It's something. Part of the reason I never expected it is because it's not something I particularly wanted.
Right.
But now that I've heard about it, I'm like, all right, well, let's see what they do with it, right?
Yeah.
But have we had anything of this nature with again, I mean, I'm conjecturing here that's going to be story-based, but when you say RPG, it has to, right? Have we ever had something like this, of that level with Nintendo characters crossing over with a whole nother universe?
Right, yeah, I don't think so, which is why it would be even weirder. I mean, obviously, other than Sonic, Mario and Sonic, but other than that,
true. Yeah,
I mean,
right.
and that would be the big one, but beyond that, I mean, it's weird that the Rabbids would be the next big thing, because I guess I just don't see the Rabbids as a big thing, but maybe that's because I'm just not the age that they're targeted at. But yeah, I mean, I just don't really even know where to go with this.
You sound so confused even now.
It's just so weird, but I mean,
it is.
Yeah, I mean, but hey, if you can cross over Sonic, I guess the next best. I mean, I don't. It's not really the next biggest thing is the Rabbids. That's why this whole thing just feels so strange.
It really does.
Yeah, I do like that there's a particular focus on Yoshi. I've always, Yoshi's always been my favorite Mario character. So any game that gives any sort of focus on Yoshi, I'm happy about.
Well, and that brings up something I was wondering about. I wonder, it is called Mario RPG, but again, that could just be a code name. I'm wondering how big of a role Mario would truly have in this. I'm almost kind of expecting them to downplay his role in the game and put it more on Yoshi. I don't know, maybe it'll be treated as more of a spin-off title in that case.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I guess it could almost be billed as a Yoshi game potentially if Yoshi is the primary focus, but we don't really know yet.
Right. Yeah, we don't.
I mean, the thing is, you keep saying it's got to be story based. I'm not necessarily sure that's true. I mean, Pokemon. I mean, look at Pokemon; those are also RPGs, and I would hesitate to call any of those story based, except for maybe X and Y, and now Sun and Moon.
Well, when I say story based, I mean having a story at all. I mean, even if Pokemon doesn't revolve around a story, there's still a story there. And having that in any capacity with a Mario and Rabbids crossover, I feel like is pretty substantial. I mean, just being an RPG, I feel like there has to be story elements there of some kind, probably more than there typically are in Rabbid games or maybe even Mario games. Like, how are these characters going to interact with one another?
Yeah.
Well, and I guess actually on that note, I guess Mario and Rabbids do kind of go together, since Rabbids, I think, have like played with plungers before, and of course, you know, Mario's a plumber, so.
I mean, that's a really tenuous connection.
Hey, they're all about toilet humor, right? What better time to bring up Mario's, you know, career that we barely see anything of, being a plumber? This brings a full circle, my friend.
maybe this will take place in the real world and feature the Super Mario Brothers Super Show versions of all the characters. Now that I would play. That I would be all about. I mean, I'm gonna play this anyway, but yeah.
That would be ridiculous. Okay, well, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about how this game might actually play. You know, saying RPG obviously brings some things to mind. We know it's turn-based, of course. And I should mention, too, that Liam Robinson of Unseen64 has thrown out there that he's heard it's akin to XCOM, which I think, for Nintendo fans who haven't played that, I think that's also like how Codename Steam played, right?
Right.
Where it's a cross between turn-based, but also some real-time action. Like, you move your character, you know, in turns, but then you can control them directly.
Yeah.
But the difference is, those games are shooters, right? How in the hell is that going to work for Mario characters? Unless you're shooting plungers or fireballs or I don't know what else.
Maybe eggs. Like if Yoshi's, possibly eggs.
Yeah, if it's Yoshi, you're right. Actually, that's true. That would make sense.
Yeah, but I mean, it almost sounds like you're describing Valkyria Chronicles, which is I can't really see that kind of gameplay married with the Mario universe exactly. So
or Rabbids either.
Or
right?
Rabbids,
I mean, it gets back to your demographic thing you mentioned, because that does seem like it skews older than what these characters typically do.
Then again, I guess Codename Steam didn't really skew older. That was, pretty kid friendly, and I wouldn't say, it didn't really skew older at all, because I feel like once you're past a certain age, a lot of what happens in that game is just kind of silly. So,
I'd still say Dylan skews older than like Rabbids demographic.
That's true, I guess. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, so you've got a game like Codename Steam, which kind of has its own weird demographic, but then you've got this, which just defies defining a demographic for it. Like, I just don't really see. I mean, I'm all about it, and I'm totally willing to give it a fair shot. I just don't really know necessarily where the audience for this is. I mean, it really does beg the question. I mean, considering how Mario and Sonic and all those Olympic games sell so well, and they continue to sell well, it begs the question, why not a Mario and Sonic RPG? Like, I feel like people would latch onto that much faster than this. Like imagine if we were reading right now that there is a Mario and Sonic crossover RPG scheduled for the Switch's launch. That would be legitimately exciting for a lot of people, I think. It'd be legitimately exciting for me, I can say that. And I just feel like if they're going to go to the crossover angle, I almost feel like that would be the obvious first choice.
And both of them have had RPGs.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Sonic had a terrible one, but yeah. So it just makes you wonder, like, why was their first thought Rabbids? Or maybe they approached Sega and Sega wasn't down. It's strange. This whole thing is strange.
Well, I'm guessing they didn't go into it with the idea of doing an RPG.
Probably not, yeah.
Yeah, it probably came more just from working with the Rabbids as a property, and what can we do with these? And plus,
that's true.
Going by the rumor, Ubisoft is a primary developer on this, with Nintendo, obviously overseeing it.
Right.
So there are really more questions here than answers.
Yeah, I mean, at least we know that Ubisoft really was serious about their continuing partnership with Nintendo. Yeah. I mean, we all kind of scoffed and laughed about it, considering Ubisoft's overall support for the Wii U, which, again, I understand why they kind of jumped ship because it was the Wii U. But, I mean, I think we all kind of assumed that was just PR speak. Right. And then, no, apparently they really are working with Nintendo in a big way. So, that's cool to see.
You know what, I do want to say, let me throw it out there just to add a little bit more positivity to this too, is Rabbids are pretty funny characters. I mean,
are they?
They're cute, they're juvenile, but they're funny in a Looney Tunes kind of way, right?
I mean, maybe, yeah. I really don't know anything about the Rabbids. I mean, I know what they are, and I know.
You even played the Wii one, like the Wii?
No.
Oh wow.
I've never played a Rabbids game, so I mean, I'm really looking at this from a complete outsider's perspective in terms of the Rabbids characters, because, I mean, and again, I'm not inherently against it. I'm just not I don't have any existing love for them, but I'm not against this idea. I'm totally down to play this game and see what this is all about, and maybe by the end of it, I'll be a big Rabbids fan. Who knows? But yeah, again, I
Are you saying
really
you might be Rabbids?
I thought about that. I thought about saying it, and I was like, no, you will, and you did. You didn't disappoint. Yeah.
So, I mean, what I was just getting at, though, is I think there is potential here to draw out something from Nintendo's characters that we don't see too often, and that is maybe putting them in an even more playful, humorous context. With, you know, Rabbids, there's no way this game isn't going to have a ton of humor in it. That's the whole thing with Rabbids.
Yeah.
And I think it will be fun to see how they interact with Nintendo's characters, whether it's Yoshi or Mario, whoever else, even Bowser. I think that actually is perhaps what has me most excited is, and it kind of ties into our Smash Brothers discussion earlier, like with how we talked about Subspace Emissary and how it was cool seeing how these, you know, having these characters in different universes interact with each other. That's something we will get here on a, you know, albeit smaller scale, but I think it has potential. I think it could let us see a different side of Nintendo's characters than we typically do.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's definitely potential here. There's no doubt about that. And if there's one thing Mario RPGs are known for in general, it's humor, and same with Rabbids. So you put those two things together, and you might have, like, you know, mega humor or something. So, yeah, like you know, double humor. I don't know, but I mean, yeah, you've got two things that are known for being funny individually coming together. So I feel like that, you know, there is huge potential here for this to be a really good, really funny time.
How cool would it be? I mean, I guess it's not super cool, but like with the Switch's emphasis on local co-op, it seems, because you have two controllers, or local multiplayer, I should say, because you have the two controllers built in. What if this was a two-player turn-based RPG?
That would be cool. I mean, there aren't very many of those. I mean, I mean, Final Fantasy VI is one of the few, and that came out like, you know, 20 years ago or something. So, well, more than that actually. So I think I don't even know, but yeah. So I mean, there's that, and then there's like Final Fantasy IX, and I can't really think of too many other turn-based RPGs that are more than one player. So I'd be all about that.
That's really the thing here. Like, it's the potential. I mean,
yeah.
Again, it's something I never wanted or expected, but now that's coming, I am extremely intrigued. So it could be really fun, or it could turn out to be like this typical Rabbids tier. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, what we do know is that they're going all in on Mario for the launch, because I mean, if we believe the rumor that Mario Switch is going to be ready at launch, and this is as well, then that's a new 3D Mario, a new Mario RPG, and then what else? But still, that's two Mario games.
Mario Kart rumored for launch?
Mario Kart, I think Mario Kart's rumored within 3 months of launch or something.
Okay.
So that's, yeah, I mean, that's 3 Mario or Mario-themed titles in the first 3 months of launch, which is great. But at the same time, you know, hopefully they don't go just all in on Mario and kind of focus too much on that at the expense of other IPs.
Yep, that is... Yeah, I mean, we'll see. There does seem to be a lot of Mario here, but if we learned anything, you know, people do love Mario, and people love Rabbids too, so maybe this really is a perfect crossover.
Yeah, it could be.
All right, Ash, any final thoughts all about this, or are we done here?
One thing I did want to mention is that one of the elements to this rumor is that there is a quick save system that ensures that saving is possible on short notice if the battery on the Switch handheld is running low, which sounds great. That just, you know, makes me wonder if battery life is continuing to be an issue for them. If that's specifically being called out as a feature, that kind of concerns me, just because, you know, that's not... I mean, as I've said before, the Switch is going to live and die by its battery life. And, you know, even at this early rumor stage, if we're hearing about a quick save system to combat battery issues on the Switch handheld, that makes me a little concerned. But that's also, you know, anecdotal, and it's, you know, this is all a rumor, so...
Yeah, I mean, we have no idea, like, the exact context that the rumor was
Exactly.
presented in, because I think, didn't Codename Steam have a save feature too? I can't fully remember.
I think it did. I mean, honestly, most RPGs do, which is why it's
Yeah.
probably... I just meant because they specifically called out the battery on the Switch handheld.
That's true. I mean, it could. I mean, you're absolutely right. The battery life may not be good by any definition here.
Yeah.
I mean, that's another Switch question we'll have to wait until January for. I mean, won't stop us from discussing it, but
Right.
Hopefully, we'll get those answers, all those answers then. So, all right, guys, I think we're about done here. So, thanks for watching. If you liked our discussion, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. You can find links to them in the description below. It's a good way to keep up to date on everything we post. And of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for more on this Mario RPG Rabbids crossover thing and other things gaming as well. Catch you later. Bye.